All right, ladies and gents, it was a last minute decision for trades yesterday, so didn't get that video out, but here it is, short and sharp. And it was always two trades. Webster was always coming out of the side. In the end, it could have been him or Aldridge. I just decided with the break even, I didn't want to lose too much more cash on Webster, obviously after just gaining sort of the 6K last week with a pretty poor score. And he didn't look great. He didn't look like he was heavily involved in the offense. And obviously, I suppose coming off the injury that he sustained, there was always worry for that last week, and then you get a bunch of days to rest and a good chance he can come out and do well enough. But the ultimate decision with Webster being sold, and obviously after last night's score, it doesn't sound very great, but we have to look at the general principles of the trade to make sure we can get better and better each and every decision we make. And with Webster, you're seeing one good score only in his last in this season with that 39, and we have Henschel and Pepper really developing into that starting role, and with Webster on the bench going forward, I just felt longer term it probably wasn't going to be the best decision to have him sitting there, to have him starting, which likely would have been the play. Well, I would have had to have done if I held him in that spot, given it was going to be PJC and then him, unless I was starting a Glover or a Hickey, but that wasn't going to be the case. So in that scenario, I was like, well, I'll sell him now, and then we can make some moves for some guys that are likely to have a bit more consistency and score in those mid-20s to 30 going forward by just spending that little bit extra cash. And the other option was to go for Pepper in that one, just to keep someone in that same sort of situation as a Perth guy with a lower break even. Dylan Windler was a little bit of an upgrade, you would have thought, but him coming off that, some shin issues, and none from 6 last night, a bit of a tough one for Windler, and a bit of a minutes restriction similar to what Webster was on last week. The other option was Sobey. I think I would have picked him over Doyle just more for the break even sake. I was going to hold either one of those two for just the 1 week, and did decide against that in the end. I was like, well, I had Henschel up in the forward slot. If I just make the Sobey play this week, which was likely the case, or Doyle obviously end up having a massive bounce back, which was somewhat expected. He's a much better player than what he's been throwing out the last couple of weeks, and he got hot. His shots didn't look like missing last night, especially in that first half. But the thought with this trade that I ended up doing, which you can see on my screen there if you're listening on podcasts, the suspense keeps building. But I was looking at the next couple of weeks and what was going to be more important to me, and we're looking at score involvements as well. For those that follow along with the BBL, Andrew Langley won back-to-back years. He's won the IPL. He's done a lot of incredible things in the SuperCoach landscape. He always talks about player involvements, and I was like, well, I have Henschel sitting up there in the forward slot, and he can easily be a starter in my side. If I trade him down to the guard spot, who do I then want, and how do I increase my score involvements over the next bunch of weeks? And I felt, well, I can get in a Brisbane player that I'm happy to have and have as a consistent scorer over the next bunch of weeks. And I looked at guys like Pinder. I could have slotted in there. He would have been scoring obviously half this week, and they still have another a bunch of doubles to come. But haven't been super excited with what I've seen from him. And then I couldn't get to Harrison this week, and I was like, well, I'm going to want Josh Bannon going forward for all of the Brisbane doubles as a very consistent guy. I think he can be someone that hits somewhere in that mid-20s to mid-30s, that 25 to 35 on a regular basis. He's sitting there at a 25.5 average before last night, and there's a lot of games there. I think he went 3 games in a row. He went 9 rebounds, 9 rebounds, 9 rebounds. One of them he would have had, he had like 9 points, he had 8 points in another, and I think 12 in the other. So definitely hanging around the spot there for double doubles. He also hasn't had many steals, so someone at his caliber, you think that those stats can improve a little bit. And he had the points last night, didn't have the rebounds, but I decided to slot him in there. Just it allows me to get the 5 doubles on the court next week in players that I'm interested in. With Henschel, I'll be able to start with him next week. It'll be just follow it up what my likely trades are. Bannon and Doolittle in the forwards with White sitting on the bench. I think I'm likely to trade Matt Hurt to Tyrell Harrison in the center slot. And then I'll have Henschel in that guards, and I'm likely to pick up another really solid play in that guard spot that could have the double. And we obviously saw last night Keandre Cook being a player that did really well, and he's going to have a nice lower break even coming into next week, which would be cool. And you see him pick up a 41. And what about last night with the blackout or the lack of power for us being able to see the rest of that game? But we did pick up a couple extra points, especially from White as captain, which is really nice there. But guys like Cook, guys like Prather could be picked, given he's a nicer, cheaper price for me. Assuming I do trade out one of my cheaper guys like Prather, guys like Norton could come in and play a really solid role in that guard spot for me if I don't manage to get the cash for someone like Keandre Cook there. So yeah, that was a really nice game from those three guys: Cook, Prather, and Bannon, and obviously Jack White as well. So Bannon basically will drop a couple of $1,000. But a 28 is perfect for his price point. So I was happy with that, although he was on 25 before 3/4 time. So although it was hard to follow that last night, it was NBL app wasn't working. But guys like Pinder with 22, you had Windler just under 20 as well, a bit of a low one on that front. But I traded in Doolittle and Bannon. So Doolittle picked up a nice second half after being 16 at halftime. So 21, especially in that final quarter. But unfortunately for Henschel, he got to 19 by halftime and then just picked up that one assist and couldn't shoot the ball well in that second half there. And the second half wasn't as pretty for my side, given I do own Doolittle, but a lot of people captained him. You had a few of the other guys, Pepper start doing a little bit better. But Milton Doyle had a really nice second half as well. Not as good as the first, but yeah, really solid section for him. So congrats to Doolittle, to Milton Doyle owners. Obviously it didn't work out last week, but you got a nice bounce back here in last night's game. So if you're looking at my side, guys like Angus Glover are a player that hopefully he can get like a 30 odd this week and make a little bit of cash for us, which would be nice to get him up near that 140, and could potentially sell him for a Norton or Casey Prather or something like that. But what you're saying with 42k in the bank, White's, unless Hurt does really well, I think White would have to be sold to get Glover up to one of these other guys like Norton or especially Prather. But Harrison going a little bit lower as well is going to help with his break even or his ability to go up in cash this week as well. So the next few are going to be interesting, how we end up getting that second player in. But I suppose guys like Ulbrich could be sold if up to Prather and these types of guys if I can't get Glover out of the side. And if hopefully he could still, if he does happen to stay in my side, hopefully it's 10s and 15s and not under 10. But going forward, really happy holding Parker Jackson Cartwright. I think one of White or Hurt will be held. White has a couple of doubles in a row, come around 11 and 12, I believe. So a few singles after this, and then same with Hurt, a couple of singles into one double, and has the duel. But White obviously has that higher ceiling as well. So very, very happy to be an owner and captainer of Jack White last night. And I think we'll leave it there. Been a fun little night afternoon trying to work out which trade I was going to end up going with. Overall, pretty happy with the Bannon selection. Like with Webster, I think I was going to sell him no matter what. So until the only one that meant I didn't have to sell him was the final decision with Bannon. I could have sold Ulbrich instead of Webster. But then I think I would have selected Henschel as the starter over Webster, so he would have been on my bench anyway. Yeah, I don't think he's going to make money anyway. If he hits another 27, he basically holds price with that 53 break even. So overall, I think it was a solid selection. He just played really well last night. So congrats to anyone who did hold on to Webster. And I think we'll leave it there. Gee, I can't wait for that 40k from Lopez and potential 36k from Hickey. That sounds great. So there you go, guys. We'll leave it there. And thanks for that. We'll see you in the next video.